And I opened here the workspace that we include with the product. So these are all the samples that we ship with Code RealTime. And there are many ways how you can build things in Code RealTime. I mean, the one that you already saw is maybe the most obvious one, is to right-click on a TC and do build. And if you look carefully what happens when you do that, you will notice that it actually it generates the code if needed, but in most cases that code is already present, since code generation in Code RealTime happens in the background. So all it has to do then is to run make to build. So that's a slightly faster way than having to run the art compiler as a command line tool. The other way is to use this art build view here. So if I click here and I have something selected, I can clean that and I can click this button to build. But once again, same thing happens if you right click on the TC. But in this sprint, we also added another way to do it, and that is by means of what Visual Studio Code calls build tasks. So there is this Control Shift B, I think it's called, yes, run build task. So if you invoke this command, we now populate a list of build tasks that basically there is one build task for every TC in your workspace. So if I want to build this hello world, I can click here, and then you will see that it's built in a different way. So now it's actually using the art compiler. So this building it like this is now identical to building it from the command line. That can be useful sometimes. And one scenario where it's needed to use this way of building is when you have build variants, because with build variants, you want to specify arguments for the build variant settings to decide what variant of the application you want to build. So one sample that we include in the product is this dependency injection, where we have a capsule factory where there are two flags that you can decide how this application should work. So maybe we should first look at the application itself. So it's a simple top capsule that has a logger and a pinger, and the pinger emits pings at frequent intervals, and the logger is responsible for logging when it receives those ping events. And there are some different variants here. So by default, we use a slow pinger, which emits pings at a slow pace. And the logger is by default abstract. So we need to specify what concrete logger we want to use. And there are, for example, this timestamp logger that we can use. But if you don't use that one, you don't get any timestamps in the log. So if we open the class diagram here, we can see that the timestamp logger inherits from abstract logger. And in the same way, we have a fast pinger that inherits from slow pinger. So we can choose if we want to use that one instead of the slow pinger. So that basically shows how you can have different behavior of an application and let that be controlled by build variant settings. And then there is the JavaScript files that implements the build variant exactly in the same way how it works in Model RealTime. But in order to build this, you need to now provide the arguments for the build variant. And to do that, you need to create a build task. And the way to do it is to use this tasks.json, which is a Visual Studio Code provided file that you can create. You don't need to remember exactly how to do this because there is content assist. So you can press Control Space and you can get the template for what attributes that you need to set in a build task. Basically, the label decides what you will see in the UI. So here, for example, I can specify the values of my build variant settings. So this one builds a fast pinger and a logger that uses timestamps, while the other one down here uses a slow pinger and logging without timestamps. And then the actual command is a Java, because we're invoking the art compiler as a jar file. And then here we are specifying the build variant script, and the build configuration is then set pinger to fast and logger to with timestamps. And in the same way, we are giving here pinger slow and logger with timestamps. So previously, it was not possible to build these kind of applications from the UI because there were no way how you could provide these arguments. But now, since we support these build tasks, you can just write like this, and then when you press Ctrl-Shift-B, these will also appear in a list here. So for example, now if I want to build my fast pinger, I will do like this. And then if I go to the output folder and run it, you will see that the fast pinger comes there. It pings quickly here. If I want to build another one, I should first clean, because build variant typically means that things are changing, so that you need to do a clean build. And now I can build it again, but this time I will select the other one, the slow pinger. And going back here again and run the application, now you see behavior is different. Now it emits the pings more slowly and also doesn't print a timestamp every time it receives a ping. So this just shows you how you can create multiple variants from your application and then introduce these build variant settings for building multiple versions of your application easily. These build tasks can also be referenced from the launch configurations that Rayesh showed. So there is an attribute that VS Code provides called pre-launch task. If I open a launch configuration here, I have used this here. So if I set pre-launch task, you can give the name of a build task. And the meaning is that before you launch this one for debugging, then this build task will be invoked. If I go here and I click the launch button and I pick my TC, then you will now see that the art compiler is invoked first, and then after that, when it has built it, it will invoke the debug session as usual. This pre-launch task, despite its name, it actually also works down here for the attach. And that's quite useful if you're building in some embedded application or some application that you need to deploy to a target device or environment before you can debug it. Because, for example, you can have a pre-launch task down here, which will invoke a script, which can then take your application, download it to your device, and then start it on this port. And then this attach then happens after that, and it will attach to the debugger. So the same thing you can do in Eclipse, but that requires installation of special plugin. I think it's called Remote Systems plugin, but that support is built in VS Code.